Welcome to the San Angelo PeopleFund Grant Program webinar. We are excited to host this event for you today in partnership with Tom Green County, the City of San Angelo, and PeopleFund. In just a second, we'll introduce all of our panelists. But first, I want to introduce myself. I'm Desiree Johnson. I am the host of today's webinar and the program coordinator for the ASU Small Business Development Center. The mission of the SBDC is to foster small business success through confidential, one-on-one, no-cost business advising services and low to no-cost business training events. We are funded in part by the U.S. Small Business Administration and the state of Texas, and we are thankful for our many economic development partnerships that allow us to host these training sessions at no cost today. As small business advisors, our goal is to keep up with the continued needs of the small business owners. The goal of the CARES Act is to meet the changing needs of small business owners during this difficult time, as the issues related to the pandemic are ever changing. So is the legislation in order to meet the needs of our small business owners. So please continue to follow and subscribe to our newsletters and social media channels for up-to-date information. Before we get started today, I want to take a minute to run through some Zoom tips that will help make this session run smoothly and allow you to get the most out of your time here today. As this session is conducted over Zoom's webinar function, your video will be turned off as you enter the session and your audio is automatically muted. You can change the view settings in the top right corner of your window to make the speaker or presentation larger, whichever you prefer. Please utilize the Q&A box on the bottom center of your screen to ask questions. We will be addressing these questions at the end. This session is also recorded and will be made available to be viewed later on demand through our website at sbdc.angelo.edu. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our director, Dave Erickson, who has been essential in helping bring this partnership together and work with PeopleFund and the City of San Angelo. And we're very excited to have everyone on the line today. So Dave, thank you.
Thank you, Desiree, and thank you for your great work behind the scenes here today. And I just want to say a little bit about the role that the ASU SBDC plays in this. Our role is to help promote the grant program to everyone. Many of you on the line are probably our clients, present or past, and we welcome you to the webinar. But our role is to help get it out there to the folks. And I want to introduce, first of all, Tina Dursky. She's the Director of Finance for the City of San Angelo. Also, they are recent winners of the Excellence in Financial Reporting Award from the Government Finance Officers Association. So congratulations, Tina. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dave. Yes, as Dave said, I am Tina Dursky. I'm the Director of Finance for the city. The City of San Angelo and Tom Green County are partnering with PeopleFund to provide financial relief to San Angelo small businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19. Both the city and the county received grants from the state through the Coronavirus Relief Fund. And from that grant, the city was able to set aside $750,000 for the grant program, and the county was able to set aside another $100,000. The program will provide grants to small businesses who are eligible under the program, and the grants will be made in allotments of $5,000, $10,000, and $15,000, depending on the size of the business. And the application period will run from February 1st through March 15th, and so we've already got that started. But I'm going to leave it to Catherine to go into a lot more detail on how the program works. Thank you, Dave.
Okay, thank you there, Tina. And one other role for the SBDC is that we've been trying to assist people with understanding what's required for the program, especially when it regards to the documents that you need to upload. Right now, I want to introduce Catherine Sobel. Catherine is the Senior Manager of Training and Education for PeopleFund. Catherine, turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and share my slides. So the goal of today is to just kind of take you through an overview of the program, and then I'm actually going to walk you through the application system and how to apply, and then give you some kind of reminders and tips to kind of think about as you're applying for this program. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll start with our PowerPoint slides, see if we can make those a little bit bigger. See if we can play that. Can everyone see? Can y'all see what I'm seeing?
We can.
We can.
Perfect.
We can see your presentation notes.
Perfect. So I want to give you some information about PeopleFund for a second. I think it's always important to know the resources that you're receiving assistance from. So PeopleFund is a community development financial institution. We serve the state of Texas, and our mission is to create economic opportunity and financial stability by providing access to capital, education, and resources. And we truly believe that when you support a small business, we're supporting a dream. And we've been a nonprofit in Texas now since 1994. We're in 9 physical cities, and we manage a military veteran lending collaborative on a national level. We do small business loans from anywhere from $1,000 to $5 million. And we target businesses who typically can't access capital from a bank or may have some trouble accessing capital from a bank. We also play in the new markets tax credit space, which just means that we're able to fund a lot of different redevelopment or nonprofit projects around the areas that we serve too. On the right side of the screen, you'll see kind of a green strip. And on that green strip, we list all of our resources in case you want to learn more a little bit about us. The San Angelo grant application is the first resource on that list. And I have sent these slides over to the SBDC. So if possible, we can send them out to you after the program as well, and you'll have all the links that you'll need. So let's get into it. In partnership with the City of San Angelo and Tom Green County, we're administering a grant program for small businesses, particularly ones who are impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. As Tina shared earlier, our awards are between $5,000 and $15,000, with tiers at the $5,000 level, $10,000 level, and $15,000 level. That's dictated by the size of your business, and how we look at size is we're looking at revenue. So anywhere from, if you're making $1,000 a year all the way up to past $1 million a year, we have an award tier for you. The program opened on February 1st, and it will close on March 15th, and we'll talk more about the timeline here in a moment. We do have $850,000 in total funding to give away. We do anticipate that there's going to be a lot of applicants applying for this program, and so there may not be enough funding to serve everyone. And we'll talk about the way that we're going to evaluate grant criteria in a moment. So there's a lot of words on this slide. I'm going to try and make it more succinct. In terms of eligibility, first, we need you to be open prior to January 1st, 2020. And how are we looking at opening date? Typically, we're going to look at things like if you have an SOS filing or you have an assumed name certificate, we can check your opening date that way. We're also going to verify some things. We'll collect a tax return from 2019. That should prove that you were open prior to 1/1. We'll also look at profit and loss statements, and so that may help us verify that as well. The next is an either or statement, and you may fit both. The idea of this program is that we really want it to help a lot of the smaller businesses who are operating within the San Angelo area. So either you have to have experienced a reduction in your revenues since March of 2020, or you have to have an annual gross revenue of less than 100,000 but greater than 5,000. And if you check both of those boxes, that's great. You just have to be able to check one of those boxes to be eligible for this program. You have to be located within Tom Green County. So if you're not located or your business operations are not located within Tom Green County, it won't count. And we are asking for business address. So if your home address is within Tom Green County, but you operate your business somewhere else, we're still going to be looking at where that business address is. Then you have to just verify some things for us. We want you to attest, you're basically self-certifying that one, you are not involved in any litigation against the city or the county, that as of March of last year, you weren't in arrears on any existing agreement or have defaulted on any previous agreement with the city or the county. We need to know that you're not debarred, suspended, or terminated, or otherwise ineligible to do business with the federal, state, or local government. And we need to verify that as of March of last year, you weren't delinquent on any taxes due to the city or the county. And then finally, there are some ineligible business activities at this time. So at this time, nonprofits are not eligible. We're anticipating a large influx of for-profits who are going to need the money. If we get to the end of the application period or somewhere along in the application period, we anticipate that there's actually less for-profit businesses eligible than we originally thought. The plan may be to open up the program to nonprofit businesses in the future, but we're going to try and see the traction that we're getting with for-profit businesses first and then move on that way. Adult entertainment, gambling or gaming, real estate investment or passive real estate income, and anything deemed federally illegal. So I want to double click on the real estate requirement real fast. I think folks can get a little confused by that. The SBA, the Small Business Administration, has definitions for active businesses and passive businesses. To be an active business, it requires that you're in your business operating at more than 51% of the time. With passive businesses like real estate investment, typically you have some kind of real estate property that you may be renting out. Maybe it's an Airbnb type of thing, but you're not in the business kind of running that all day long. So we call it a source of passive income. And although it's definitely a business in our eyes, it's unfortunately not eligible for this program. But if you're a realtor, if you're a property manager, if you have anything going on like that in the real estate industry, that's going to work. Just not real estate investment or house flipping, some of those things. Alrighty, so we're going to move on to documents. So there's an application process, and the application process requires that you submit some documents just so we can verify that everything looks kosher and it matches what you put on your application. There's been a lot of fraud with federal and local sources of assistance, and PeopleFund's committed to making sure that this money gets into the hands of the right people and combating fraud along the way. So the first thing that we'll ask for is a Secretary of State filing or an assumed name certificate if you're formally registered. We understand that there are sole proprietors, self-employed, independent contractors who may not be formally registered. So if you don't have that, that's okay. We're collecting this in the case that you do. We are going to need profit and loss statements for 2020 separated out by quarter. And so typically we'll receive profit and loss statements when you pull a report from your accounting software. You can pull it on an annual basis. You can pull it on a quarterly basis. So if you have an accounting software, that's really going to help you in this sense. If not, the Angelo State University SBDC is a great resource for you guys to consult in terms of getting profit and loss statements put together. The idea behind us collecting this is we need to verify that you checked one of those two boxes that we talked about. So either, again, you had that 15% loss in revenue due to COVID since March, or you fit that between $5,000 and $100,000 net income. And so we have to be able to verify that somehow. If an annual statement does verify that, we won't ask for anything further. If you submit your annual statement, but we really need to see some things separated by quarter, we'll just send you a note and say, hey, we're really needing to see some profit and loss statements by quarter, and we'll give you some resources to get those completed. The third requirement is a 2019 business tax return in full. I know that a lot of folks file business taxes along with their personal taxes. So if your business taxes are part of your Schedule C, or you have something within like a self-employed schedule, self-employed income schedule within your tax return, we still want you to upload that entire document. And that just helps us get the gamut of what the business is doing. It helps us verify that, yes, you are paying taxes in the appropriate way. It also is another verification step for us to see that you were in business prior to that January 1st, 2020 start date, and helps us evaluate that income loss over time. The last form we'll need from you is IRS Form W-9. And a lot of folks, I think, don't understand what a W-9 is. When you receive any kind of grant money, there's always the question, what is the tax liability on that grant money? And so basically a W-9 allows you to provide your EIN to us so that when it comes out for tax time next year, we can send you a document that helps your CPA or you file your taxes in the most appropriate way. So this is just a quick form that you need to fill out. You can download this from the IRS website. If you Google IRS Form W-9 fillable, it will come up. But in our application system, which I'll show you in a moment, we already have that form built out for you. So you don't have to do any additional work to collect that prior to filling out our application. All right, here's our timeline for where we're at. So it did open on the 1st. We will be accepting applications and evaluating eligibility for everyone who's filled out our interest form, which I'll show you in a moment, by the 15th. And everyone who's let us know they're interested in applying by the 15th will receive that personalized application link and be able to apply within that application window. On the 15th, our application closes, and we anticipate having all award decisions and all awardees notified of their approval status by the 25th. So here's one thing to keep in mind. We will not be making award decisions until our application period has closed. So if you're wanting to contact us for status updates on your application, all of our status updates will actually be provided within the application platform on the dates listed. And so I know you can be anxious. Hey, am I eligible? One thing we will provide is after you've completed the initial application phase is we'll either send you a note letting you know that you're eligible or ineligible. And if ineligible, we also want the chance to hear from you if you think that decision was made in error. So we want to kind of go back and forth on the eligibility as well. So you'll know if you're eligible or not, basically as you're submitting your application and we're reviewing it sometime within this period. And then all eligible applicants from there, if there are enough eligible applicants, we'll end up deducing that to an awardee pool and notify you of the award decision. If for some reason by the end of the application period there are not enough eligible applicants, we'd turn it into a first come first served model and all eligible applicants would be awarded, and the program would continue until the funding was exhausted. So I'm going to switch my screen now. We'll talk about some application assistant in a moment. I'm going to get to our site so I can show you how to walk through the platform. The URL at the top is where you'll go to apply for, where you go to start your application for this program, peoplefund.org/San Angelo, and I believe that Desiree has shared that in our chat. When you get here, it gives you some more information, some of the information that we talked about today, so you can read that on the site as well for reference. Then you'll click here to fill out our interest form. And what this allows us to do is capture information. It lets us know that you're ready to apply for the program, and it allows us to send you a personalized link to our application platform. Once you fill this out, you'll receive a link within 1 business day. And of course, if you fill it out on the 15th of March, we definitely recommend doing it prior to then, but we'd still be able to send you a link on that day. When you receive a link, the link is going to come from a platform called LenderFit. And LenderFit is just a processing system that we're using to help process our grant applications. That invitation may go to your inbox. Sometimes it goes to spam, just depending on your security filters on your personal email. So make sure you're checking your spam as well. Once you get that invitation, you'll click on that invitation and it'll allow you to log into the grant application site. It'll ask you to create a username and password so that if you need to complete your application at a later date, you'll be able to do so. Something to note is that when you're creating your password, it's going to ask for at least 1 lowercase letter, 1, I believe, uppercase letter, 1 number, and 1 special character. So we've had some trouble, I think, with that, making sure your password meets the program requirements. Once you get in there, you'll be able to update your kind of profile. So right now, the contact for us is the PeopleFund team, and you'll see my phone number there that you can call if you'd like. And then you'll be able to go through your application in the way that it's kind of set up in this checklist area for you. So step 1 is finishing your profile, making sure that your business name, phone number, all of that is updated, and then you'll go ahead and get started. So this is what you're seeing. This is from the applicant side of things. If I click application instructions, I can read a little bit more about what this is. There's even a link to more detailed instructions if you're interested in opening that PDF to read more about the program. There's nothing that you have to do on the application instructions phase to be able to move to step 2. So you'll just move on to step 2, which will allow you to complete this application. It says, please complete the following application form and then move on to upload your necessary documents. You'll start the form, and this has all of our eligibility information. It will not allow you to move on. It will not allow you to move on to other questions if there's something that's ineligible. You'll end up submitting that form as is, and we'll let you know the reason it was deemed ineligible. Once you finish the application, we'll discard my progress for now. you can complete any of these steps before the decision phase and in any order. So say you're ready to complete your W-9 and you have your business registration up here, but you may need some work on the profit and loss statements. All of these steps can be completed at any time. You just won't be able to move past a decision phase until you complete steps 1 through 6. As you're completing these steps, you'll be able to see your status up here. So as you're completing these steps, as you log into the platform, your status will read as open. As PeopleFund is reviewing your application, we'll change the status to in review. And if we've deemed that the application isn't eligible, we'll change the status to not approved, and we'll provide you a reason as to why it's ineligible. If for some reason there was an error made and we go back and forth and realize, hey, it looks like you are eligible, we'd rechange the status to back in review and collect the missing information that we need. As you're completing some of these things, dependent on how you complete them, you're going to see some half moons show up. So as you complete the application and submit that, there should be a half moon here that turns green. When PeopleFund reviews that and marks the item as complete, yes, we reviewed it, looks like all good, the entire moon will turn green and you'll be able to see your progress there. Once you complete all of the phases, it's more so if you're deemed eligible, more or less a waiting game until we're able to make that formal decision at the end of that. Once we provide awardee decisions and you are awarded, you'll have to fill out a grant agreement and some ACH information, which is banking information, so that we can transfer the funds to your account, which will all happen within 10 business days of you remitting your information to us. And that is pretty much the application process after we transfer funds. We're going to implement a survey as well so that we can get some feedback on how you enjoyed the system, how you like the program, anything that you want to get back from us. And PeopleFund has decided to give a gift card for, do a gift card drawing for those who complete the survey. So it is optional, but definitely want to encourage you to give us some feedback on that after the program has ended. So with that, I will jump back into our presentation platform. Oh, it looks like it starts over from the beginning here. So in terms of application assistance, if you need any eligibility questions answered, if there's application technical assistance, hey, I can't get into the platform, something's not working, you're welcome to fill out an interest form. You're welcome to contact the number that you see on the Lender Fit site, which is my number. And then we have Rick, who's answering the phone at the 281 number that you see here. If there's some technical assistance that you need within that grant platform, there's also a chat feature. You can chat directly with a technical representative. The platform's just not working for you. We haven't experienced that as of yet, but those representatives are there live to chat as well. And then if you need to compile any application documents or you're needing help through the application, the Angelo State University SBDC is our technical assistance partner in helping you get through some of those questions also. So I'll close us out with some reminders before we get to questions. The first thing is, if you have multiple businesses, you're going to have to apply separately for each. And our platform wants you to accept one invitation before we're able to send you another if you're using the same email. The other thing is, when you click on the second invitation, it's probably going to take you back to the login for your first. So you'll need to sign out of the platform and then log back in for the second application. We talked about the green half moons that will show on completed items. And as PeopleFund's reviewing the items that you've completed, we'll be able to turn that into a full green moon so you can see that you're complete. If for some reason a document was uploaded incorrectly or we needed more information from you, we'll send you a message right in that platform and you should get a notification. And depending on what notification preferences you set, that notification will either go to your email or directly as a text message. If you've turned text messaging off, just make sure you're checking your spam folders just in case those notifications end up there. The other thing is, we will contact you in regards to your eligibility prior to the program close. So although you won't know what the official decision is, you will know if you're eligible or ineligible as we're finishing up the review of your application. And so I have talked for probably 20 minutes now, maybe more. I can be lengthy. about this process. I also talk pretty quickly, so I want to open up shoot it back to Dave and Desiree and open this up for questions.
Great information, Catherine. Thank you so much. And for those of you that have seen on the chat box, this is recorded and it will be available tomorrow, as Desiree mentioned. So thanks so much. And Desiree, what kind of questions we have?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for mentioning the recording, Dave. So let's go to our Q&A. And it looks like we have some interest in whether or not hotels qualify or would be caught up in the REI disqualification. Catherine, can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. Hotels are eligible for this grant as long as you're an owner-operator of the hotel. So we've received grant applications from prior programs where it was clear that the person was just an investor in the hotel and not an applicant. We'll be able to tell if you're an investor or an owner-operator based on your tax return. So as long as you're an owner-operator of the hotel, hotels at this time are eligible for the grant.
Perfect, thank you. And just to follow up with that, it looks like we were able to answer 2 questions in one, so some interest from some various hotels there. And then, of course, will this be recorded for people who missed some of this? Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure if we're having multiple people with audio issues. This is something we haven't run into before. So if you are having any trouble hearing the presentation, please let me know via email at sbdctraining@angelo.edu. I'll drop that in the chat as well, and make sure we get a viable copy to you of the audio recording and presentation. So yes, we will take care of that. And I just also would like to reiterate that the SBDC is here to assist you in the grant application. So if you have some one-on-one questions about the application process, we can work on those one-on-one, as well as we have Catherine here to answer eligibility questions. So thank you. Okay, so let's move on. Financial info, is this fiscal year or calendar year? And how are we defining that, Catherine?
For sure. So we are going to be looking at calendar year. I think fiscal year is typically used in nonprofit settings and maybe in some corporations as well. But we're typically looking for 2019 tax returns and then Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 separated out for 2020. So we're looking at Q1, calendar year, January to March, Q2, April to June, and then Q3, July to September, and then October to December would be Q4.
Perfect. Now I'm just chatting some of this out as you're answering these live. So thank you for that. Okay, our next question is, once the application is completed and shows the form submitted, do I need to click on upload documents?
You will. So again, those, as long as the form is submitted, again, you may see your moon turn half green. It might not turn at all, depending on the way that you submitted that. You'll want to complete all of the steps before the decision phase. So step 1 through 6, before you, to know that your application is complete. And we will be sending out some reminders. So if for some reason there wasn't a document, every other week or so, we'll send a reminder, hey, it looks like you haven't finished this requirement. Please go ahead and finish this requirement so that we can review your application.
Perfect. And Catherine, just to follow up with that, what email address will those come from so we can be on the lookout for those reminders?
Those will actually come directly from the platform. So the way that you have set your notification preferences within that platform, you'll get just a notification, the same as you got when you got the link to apply. It says PeopleFund has noticed some inactivity. So it won't be a set email address. It'll just be a notification from the platform itself, which is called LenderFit. So if you open up your email, it might say LenderFit, it might say PeopleFund, San Angelo program. And then if you have text message notifications enabled, which I recommend that everybody does, you'll get a text message directly to your phone as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And I just want to reiterate, if you could, just to keep us organized and make sure we're answering all of the questions today or able to follow up with you one-on-one, if you could put your questions in the Q&A box. So I'm gonna start with all of those first before we go through the chat messages. So Q&A, bottom icon on your screen. So the next question I have is, what if we did not get the personalized invitation with the link to apply? What now?
For sure. So we sent out invitations to everyone who's applied as of today. And so if you haven't received that, I will share my contact information. Just let me know. We did receive some mailer daemons, so there might have been some incorrect email addresses added in, and we want to make sure that we get to everyone and correct those. And so we'll be following up with those as well. If you didn't get a link, just let me know. Feel free to email me and we'll get that going. And I can share my email directly with you guys in the chat. It's ksobel@peoplefund.org. And if you email me, just give me a day or so to respond. We are receiving, a high volume, not just from this program, but from some others that we're working with. Just feel comfort in the fact that this is not a first come, first serve program. It does run until the 15th. So if we don't get back with you until Friday or Monday, it's okay. You'll be able to apply throughout this entire application period. So feel free to email me if you're needing any assistance on that end.
Perfect. Thank you. The next question says, I know that nonprofits are not currently eligible to apply, but if that becomes a possibility, will we be notified to apply?
Absolutely. So we would share that information. SBDC would share that information. I'm sure we would make some social posts and make that public knowledge. But the other thing that we're doing is we're not kicking out your application if you're ineligible right now as a nonprofit. So if you wanted to start the application knowing you're ineligible, but then get a notification from us, you'd already have some of that complete by the time that you got the notification to apply. Our biggest thing is if you can sign up on our site, on our interest form, and just let us know, hey, I have a question, or let us know, hey, I'm a nonprofit and I want to be notified if nonprofits do in fact become eligible, then we're able to move forward on that end. So if you can give us your information, we can make sure that you're notified.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's see.
Catherine, can I add something to that?
Yes, please, Tina.
If nonprofits do become eligible, I think we could also put something out on the city's social media pages, such as Facebook and Twitter, those kinds of things.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, we will definitely work to get the word out. I encourage you to keep touching base with all of your various contacts. Okay, so moving on to the next question. How do you determine the percent reduction in income? Is it from your 2019 income to 2020 income?
We're actually looking at the percentage reduction from March of 2020. And so that's why we need those profit and loss statements by quarter. We're going to look at what did you make in Q1 gross revenue. So we're looking at gross income. And then we're looking at gross income in Q2. And we're looking to see, is there a 15% reduction over time? And the pandemic hit, and it hit people at different times in different ways. And so if we can't prove that 15% reduction in revenue from Q1 to Q2, we're going to look at the subsequent quarters and see how you fared throughout the year to see if there's a 15% reduction from March 2020 to any period in 2020, any quarter. So that's why we need those profit and loss statements by quarter if that's the requirement that you're qualifying on.
Perfect. Thank you. We had a couple other questions about contact information, so I've put those in the Q&A chat, and then also it is in the general chat. So again, Catherine's email is ksobel@peoplefund.org. And again, you can follow up with the SBDC directly for that. Okay, next question. What about if I started my business in February 2020, but have been trying to start my business in 2019? Can I get the grant?
Unfortunately, we're going to go off of the business open date. And if there were, if we could prove that it was operational prior to January 1st of 2020, that's something we could work with. If we can't prove that it was operational prior to the date that you shared, which is after our opening date of January 1st, we wouldn't be able to move forward. So that is one of our eligibility criteria. That being said, there's a lot of ways to evaluate when you started operations. So if you filed business taxes, if there were some legitimate expenses that you had in 2019, I would say let's apply, let's evaluate and see where we can get to see if we can get you to be eligible for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Somebody asked, how do we get this video or audio recording sent to us? And I would just like to follow up that the recording will be available and you can access it through your original registration link. So if you've got the reminder email, if you give it a few hours, I typically say next day, you will be able to access the recording. If you have any technical difficulties beyond that, please contact me directly at SBDC Training. Okay. Back to the content. How will it be viewed if my employee count was forced to be reduced?
So thanks so much for the question. We are not looking at employee count in this particular program. You may be referencing the Paycheck Protection Program, who does look at whether you have reduced your employee headcount or not. But fortunately for us, that's not a requirement for this program. So if you have reduced your employee headcount over time, that is totally okay. We understand that people were affected in a variety of ways. It may not be possible to keep those employees on board. Hopefully with some sustenance from this grant, you're able to rehire, although it's not a requirement to receive the funding.
Perfect. Thank you, Catherine. And a great opportunity there to have a little bit less stress on our employee count. Okay, so very technical question here. Is it secure to upload our 2019 tax returns with full social security numbers, or should we black those out on the uploads?
Absolutely. I totally understand the concern, especially in today's kind of virtual world where fraud can run rampant. The LenderFit platform was designed for lenders to collect these specific documents in a secure way, as well to help make more user-friendly some of our communication processes. And so we do require that you upload the tax return without the information blacked out or redacted. And our reasoning for that is it helps us combat fraud. So if for some reason we see an EIN or social security number that does not match the tax return, that then gives us a little red flag that allows us to look at that further. So if you're redacting or blacking out information for security reasons, please, I understand the want to do that, but the platform was built so that we could collect this information securely, and we are going to need to see that without the redaction.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Great answer. Always a concern. Good question. Okay. Also, what additional information are you looking for in the application? And it has a note bottom of the app. So can you give us a little bit of info on that?
Sure. I think the question in reference maybe to our one of our questions, if there's any additional information you'd like to share with the awards committee, please let us know. That is totally up to you. So we just wanted to give an open-ended response space if you wanted to give us any more information, but we're not looking for anything there. One example I can think of is if you are waiting on your profit and loss for Q4 to be completed and you wanted to let us know that, you may write that in there. Hey, I'm going to upload my profit and loss a little bit later. I'm still working on it. If you were concerned about that. If you had any questions, you could ask those there, but it's kind of like a free-for-all space to write in anything that you'd like us to consider.
Awesome. Thank you. Great information. Again, just a quick, is revenue based on gross or net?
Great question. So there's two ways to qualify here. That was the either or checkbox. The first is going to be based on gross revenue. So if we're looking at the 15% reduction in revenue, we're looking at gross revenue over time. The other way to qualify is if your business netted between 5,000 and 100,000. So if qualifying on that specific requirement, then we're going to be looking at your net income. But for the 15% reduction, it's going to be gross.
And just to clarify, when they're entering their quarterly information, they're entering gross.
They are, yes. So we are asking for gross revenue on the application. There's going to be a space on the application where you can enter Q1, 2, 3, and 4. That's where we're looking at gross as well.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, if we're registered with county and federal, but not state, are we still considered eligible? I'm assuming this is referring to sole proprietorships.
Yes, sole proprietorships, independent contractors, self-employed individuals are eligible for this grant. And we understand that registration, formal business registration, is not a requirement in Texas. So we're not penalizing anybody based on that. But we are going to, again, look at business taxes to make sure that you are filing business taxes, as well as profit and loss statements to see that you're operational.
Very good. Is there a way to view the application questions ahead of actually inputting the information?
Good question. In the system, there's not, but I do understand that you might want to preview the application before completing it. I can go ahead and send a PDF of the application to the Angelo State SBDC to send out and to post, and then I can actually add that as a resource within the platform so that you can just see a PDF of what you're going to have to fill out as well.
That would be great. And I've worked with a couple of clients to look at the application so far. So if I'm correct, I think you can get in there and sign in and look at the application. It just won't save any data that you enter unless you actually complete the form, correct?
You can. There are some phases to the application. So first is eligibility. And if you did not, for some reason, pass eligibility phase, it may not allow you to move forward. So you wouldn't be able to see the entire application there. But we can post it as a resource as well so that you can see that whole thing.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, Catherine, if you want to send that over towards the end, I'll get that linked up in the chat as well. Okay, so next question. Do we list ourselves as the owners as employees if we don't have actual employees? So as owners, do we count as an employee?
I am going to answer this in the way that I think is most uniform with other sources of programs that you're going to apply for too. So if you were applying, for example, the Paycheck Protection Program, they also ask about this. And if you're paying yourself as an employee, if you're taking an owner's draw, I'm going to say that you're an employee of the business. If you're not paying yourself as an employee, you're not taking any draws from the company, we would not include the owner as an employee. So it's dependent on if you're actually paying yourself a paycheck or not.
Very good response. Okay, a few great comments. Thank you for the presentation and the information. So thank you all for that positive feedback. Another question on eligibility is, are we deemed ineligible if our net is less than 5,000?
No, so that, thanks for the question. That goes back to that kind of either or verification process that we have. So if your net income was less than 5,000, we would try and qualify you on the other eligibility requirement of experiencing a 15% reduction in gross revenue. So again, you just have to be able to check one of those boxes to be eligible for this program. Either you meet the net income requirement or you meet the revenue reduction requirement. And we have those for specific reasons. One, we want to make sure that we are targeting all businesses who were affected by COVID, but we also want to make sure we're targeting some of the smaller businesses that we have here as well.
Thank you. It looks like we have gone through all of our Q&A. So I'm going to just review the chat real fast. And I know we've touched base on this already, nonprofits, just to make sure we follow up and make this clear. The nonprofits are able to apply, but they may not be considered eligible until at a later date, correct?
Correct. We're not anybody who signs up using our interest form, we're going to send you an invitation to apply anyways. It's hard for us to tell from that form if you're a nonprofit or for-profit. And if in fact they do become eligible, it'd be great if some of y'all had a head start on applying for that, especially because we don't know if or when that's going to happen. So feel free to apply and we'll just send you a note that say, hey, nonprofits are ineligible at this time, but we're going to keep your information in case we do open up that requirement and are able to service nonprofits in the future.
Thank you, Catherine. And I also just want to put out a quick note for area nonprofits that during the CARES Act allotted time, the SBDC has opened our services up to nonprofits who are seeking out assistance in applying for these CARES Act related funding programs. So if you are a nonprofit and you typically have not received service from the SBDC, but you need help in the application process, we are able to help you at this point. So thank you for that. Okay, one other question. If we don't meet the 5,000, if we're in the either or bracket, looking at that application qualification, if we don't meet the 15% decrease either, where do we stand?
So you have to check either one of those boxes or be able to check either one of those boxes to qualify. if you're not within our revenue requirement, our net income requirement, and you haven't experienced a 15% at least reduction in revenues, it's hard to say that you've been, it's hard on paper to say that you've been hit by the pandemic. So unfortunately, you would not be eligible if you aren't able to attest to one of those requirements.
Perfect. Thank you, Catherine. That's a great way to put it. A lot of businesses have been affected in various different ways, and with the programs that are out there are here to do their best in the best way they can, and unfortunately sometimes those guidelines have to be a little bit strict in order to make the most difference in the most needed places. So thank you for that, Catherine. Just a few other comments. Thank you for all the help. Very informational. You guys have done a wonderful job. I would like to thank Catherine, Tina, and Dave today for taking the time to share with us this information on this grant program. We're very excited to be a part of it and to be able to offer this to area small businesses. So any closing comments from our panelists today?
I want to thank Catherine and Tina for hopping on here, and Desiree, thank you for your behind the scenes work. And one question may have been answered already though, but the slides, can we share those slides, Catherine?
Absolutely, please do. And if you want to add anything onto that, the other thing is I am going to send you that PDF shortly here of the application. So if anyone wants to preview that, there's that. I think one last comment I wanted to leave y'all with is if anyone needs this application translated into Spanish or a different language, please let us know and I can provide the translation for that as well.
All right, thank you. Great work, all. Thank you.
Perfect. So these additional documents I will be able to send out via email, but I'm also going to attach them to the event information. So please be sure that you registered today with the email that you would like to send us to that. I realize that you have already registered. So if that is not the case and I'm not able to contact you or follow up, I want you to know that I will also be publishing these documents on the event page that you use to register. And I'm going to just link that in the chat now. So if you would like to copy this page and revisit it by tomorrow, I will have those resources up for you. So thank you, Catherine, for sending those along. We'll get those digitized and uploaded to the event page here at this link. As you can see, it's a link to our calendar page. So without further ado, I just want to close up the webinar today by saying thank you again for participating as our panelists. I want to, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't put that in the right chat box. So let me try that one more time. Thank you for that notification. All right, hopefully people are seeing that event page link now. And as I mentioned, I will promise to have those files uploaded by end of day tomorrow. So again, I just want to thank everybody that was on the panelist committee today, all the work that you have done behind the scenes to bring this program to San Angelo on all sides of the fence there. Thank you for that. And thank you to everyone who took the time to attend and learn more about the program in hopes that it's going to better your business through this difficult time. We kindly ask all of our attendees to complete a short survey that will automatically populate at the end of this meeting in your web browser. Your feedback is essential in the process of planning future events and improving our training program overall. Again, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon in our upcoming webinars. Have a wonderful day.